Yo, what up, homies? It's your boy, Shinfo. Today we're talking about predators and how are they able to get away with it so often, right? We're gonna ask some serious questions today. Is it by design? We'll find out by the end of this episode. I can assure you, if it's not this one, it's parts 2 and 3 today that I'll be running. Serious. This kind of stuff is really not good. And I don't like people who are in favor of bills like Bill C-50. Wab Kinew is a boss and a legend. He's not featured just yet, but he will be. This has just come in. So we're doing breaking stories as they happen. This is 43, 44, 45 minutes old in Canada. This is ongoing right now. So I'd like to bring this to you if you're not familiar with maybe CPAC or Canadian politics. This is what's happening in my country right now. Am I a political channel? No. Do I value Canadian laws as far as protecting the public and its citizens and providing a fair and affordable health care? Yes. So those are the things that I will be vocal about. And when I don't receive good health care or someone I know doesn't receive good health care, I'll let you know as soon as possible, because around the world people always say, oh, you guys have free health care. Well, have you ever tried using our healthcare system? Okay? And some people have had great success, others have had horrible journeys inside of our healthcare systems. So we should listen to those who have we should listen to those who have had horrible journeys, and we should in fact learn from our mistakes inside of those horrible journeys. Why was it so horrible? Put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself, if that was your mother, if that was your father, your son, your daughter, your favorite aunt, your favorite uncle, would you want them to experience that same level of care in a good way or in a bad way, right? And of course, in a good way, we always want to say, of course, we want our families to be taken care of, and we don't want our families to be mistreated, okay? So, this gentleman here, I've seen him before. I'm thinking that what's about to happen is, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. This is Sexual Exploitation and Trafficking Coalition, and they're asking for urges action, and this is as of November 6th. So if you want to go drop a like on their video, see 47 minutes ago, only 56 views, because the powers that be don't want such a video to go viral, okay? I, on the other hand, expect these videos to go viral. If you have kids, if you have ever held a baby, you need to make sure you drop a like on my video. Share my video on Facebook, Twitter, X, TikTok. I don't care. Get it out there, okay? Watch it in full. Let it run in the background and enjoy your day today. This isn't a stream to bring you down or bring up, sad emotions. This is to protect people against evil who doesn't think that true evil acts are actually evil. That's exactly the way I have to put this, okay? And I wish I could say exactly what I want to say, but I'll never get my video, won't get out there if I do. Here we go. Let's pay attention to the beginning of this video, and let's talk about it as it goes on here, okay?
Today we're pleased to welcome
Sorry, we'll start that over 1 second. It was the volume issue. We'll fix that right now. Done. And start her up.
Today we're pleased to welcome Andrea Hines and Kathy King. They will deliver 448 copies of their book, When Men Buy Sex, Who Really Pays, to every MP and...
So that's a beautiful... as soon as I watched the opening 10 seconds of this video, It made me gasp, and it's a beautiful statement of horribleness, right? It When men buy sex, who really pays? And the line there is the victim, right? The person who is not old enough yet to realize that they don't want to do this, and it's going to have ramifications later on. Okay, listen.
Senator to reinforce the need for demand-focused legislation, and survivor-informed policy. So I believe that MP Verson will start. So MP Verson, the floor is yours.
Well, great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being present at our press conference this morning. I'm honored to introduce our panel of leaders in the fight against sexual exploitation and sex trafficking. Today marks the 11th anniversary of the Royal Assent of PSEPA, the Protection of Communities and Exploited Persons Act. Through PSEPA, Canada's Parliament recognized prostitution as a form of sexual exploitation and affirmed that no one should ever be bought, sold, or exploited for sex. I had the opportunity earlier this week to recognize in the House of Commons the work of Andrea Hines and Kathy King, bringing this issue to the forefront through their book, When Men Buy Sex, Who Really Pays? So without further ado, I'd like to hand the floor over to Andrea and Kathy, and their voices need to be heard, and they have an important message for parliamentarians.
So I didn't make it to this point, but absolutely, their voices need to be heard, because the media, I have never heard of these people. You know what I mean? This is the first time I've heard of them. How is there a coalition that we don't know about in Canada that protects and does things to help other people? How much funding is this coalition given? And should we double or triple it? And should we have people in every province involved with ears to the ground, stomping out predators every day?
Thank you for being here this morning.
Good morning. My name is Andrea Hines, and I'm honored to be here in Ottawa today with my co-author and fellow advocate, Kathy King, to mark and celebrate 11 years since the Royal Assent of the Protection of Communities and Exploited Persons Act. PSEPA is a world-leading law that recognizes the deep harms of the commercial sex industry and affirms that no one should ever be bought, sold, or exploited for sex. This law is personal to me. I spent 7 years inside Edmonton's licensed prostitution system as a young, economically destitute woman with a history of abuse and trauma. And in those 7 years, I witnessed and endured profound cruelty and suffering, things that most Canadians are fortunate never to have to ever imagine, let alone survive. Behind the illusion of choice and so-called consent, there was always coercion, trauma, and violence. This is the brutal reality that this law dares to confront. We are here today thanks to the generous support of Empower Men and Men Ending Trafficking, not only for sponsoring our trip to Ottawa, but also for covering the cost of delivering our book, When Men Buy Sex, Who Really Pays, to every single member of Parliament and senator in Canada, 448 copies in total. We are also proud to stand alongside passionate and principled allies, the National Council of Women of Canada, the Centre to Empower All Survivors of Exploitation and Trafficking, and Persons Against Non-State Torture. Together, we are united in saying we will not turn away from exploitation and we will not remain silent. Kathy and I spent 3 long years writing this book. It was our honor to bring the voices of the often voiceless to the forefront, to shine a light on what so many want to keep in the dark, and to fill a critical gap in Canadian literature on this issue. This is not a women's issue. It is a human rights issue, a justice issue, an issue of dignity, equality, and public safety. Make no mistake, prostitution and sex trafficking are not separate issues. They are deeply interconnected, and both are driven by demand, systemic inequality, and a culture that too often excuses the sexual exploitation of the vulnerable. To our elected leaders at every level of government, we call on you to act. Enforce this law. Invest in meaningful exit supports. and send a clear, unified message. No person should ever be available for sexual use or purchase. To the people of Canada, we need you. We cannot forget or abandon those still trapped in the prostitution system. Stand with us. Stand for those who have no voice. Stand for a future where sexual servitude has no place in our society. Thank you.
My name is John Castles. I'm the founder and board chair of Men Ending Trafficking, a charitable advocacy organization based in the Toronto area. Also, in my full-time role with SIM Canada, I am the director of an agency called LifeWorthy. In addition to assisting young women exiting the sex industry, LifeWorthy provides support and guidance for parents of adult and minor age children who are actively being exploited. The year was 2014 when Justice Minister Peter MacKay signaled that the Government of Canada had come to a new understanding on the concern of prostitution, that it is profoundly harmful and inherently exploitative. He had searched for a legal framework to lower the risk to those in prostitution and found none. The clear path then was to discourage wholesale the prostitution industry. That would largely be accomplished by deterring the purchase of sexual services. MacKay placed a robust legal scheme on the table, the Protection of Communities and Exploited Persons Act. Prostitution, which had been historically passed off as a mere public nuisance, would be more appropriately framed as a crime of exploitation. I regret to tell you that Canada's 2014 anti-prostitution law was neither appropriately implemented nor enforced in the provinces and territories. And prostitution activities continue to be licensed in Canadian cities. Even some politicians elected to look out for the well-being of their own communities remained in opposition to PASEPA. In the House of Commons, we heard it argued, sex work is work. Which is it? Is prostitution a viable career option, or is it a form of exploitation? The dozens of parents in LifeWorthy's Parents Program will answer that.
It's 100% exploitation. And I was just thinking in my head here, by design, the people who profit off of this are really, 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 really dirty people that I would love to meet in the night. 100%. These people have, well, there is no way that these people don't know a cop, okay? There's no way that they aren't familiar to the police, okay? It's impossible. If they know everything about what Judy is doing, and Judy has never broken a law in her life in Winnipeg, you're trying to tell me that the cops don't know what someone who has like 3 cell phones, 16 bank accounts, and 3 family members who are cops, right? You see what I said there? 3 family members who are cops, right? Married into the cop side on the other side, ex-police chief, man, the stories that I have that are written down that my buddies know, and if anything happens to me, all of it will be released instantaneously. And the reason is I'm a good man. So tread lightly if you're evil out there, because I got dirt on you you don't even understand. Land deals in Manitoba, I got way more than most people could ever imagine and fathom, but that's because you're not on my level. Just like there's dirty politicians, there's dirty cops, okay? Just like there are evil, evil gangsters and make-believe mobsters that have just been inflated by cops who don't go and bust them. They bust everybody else on the block, but leave the mobster. Do you know why? They're connected.
Question without hesitation. They will tell you about the radical changes in behavior of their children and the loss.
So, do you ever think that police get an informant who is a prostitute? Look it up right now in Canada. The trials that have gone on with a witness in Canada who was a prostitute, an undercover CI. Okay, you guys, because you don't really have any lawyer friends or any high up police friends, you're never going to understand the way the world really works. When I run stories on Nygaard and everything else, I have stories in between of personal family members who have met Nygaard and seen this snake in action.
Of relationship they experienced. They will speak about the violence perpetrated against their daughters and describe the injuries to their bodies. They will testify to deteriorating mental and physical health of their daughters and lament.
Anybody who walks around in a suit and tie, and it's okay to have self-confidence, but you lose self-confidence when you think what you're wearing is what makes you better, right? So I'm a believer in ethical values, right? No matter what somebody looks like, you treat them the same. You give them the same respect that you would give your mother. When you go out in public, you treat everybody as an equal until they give you a reason not to. Most people, not this gentleman who's clearly a professional, who cares about people's lives. He's wearing a nice suit, gorgeous tie, beautiful suit jacket I'd love. I'm not saying, oh, I'm just saying I'm not referring to this dude right here. He's a nice guy. There are so many business people. Put your fingers up right now. You have family members who've kept it in the family, literally speaking, okay? And more than one way, bud.
Over the addictions that took hold from efforts to self-medicate. Many will share that the nightmare continues without relief or closure. Some who have received closure will tell you about the anguish of having to bury a daughter. These are some of the people who are most qualified to tell you what happens when men buy sex. In conclusion, I'll quote from the book When Men Buy Sex, Who Really Pays, by Andrea Heinz and Kathy King. Condemnation of sex trafficking is an important first step, but distinct.
So that's what we're doing here today. We're condemning the thought or the. The last thing I want to do is ever influence somebody to do something so awful as that, right? I've often said that I am very proud that I've never purchased a prostitute or anything like that in my life, okay? Now, this is majorly, I am morally and ethically bound by not doing that. But I have made love to a lot of chicks, okay? A lot of adult, fully grown, older than me chicks, okay? And that's cool. You know, I love older women. And I think me influencing that I love, mature women is a good thing, right? So, yeah, if you dudes out there have any hot aunties, let them know about the channel. Now, this is not a time for jokes, but I am trying to keep it, professional. So, let's continue this, all right? Also, please follow for more tips as well.
A distinct hypocrisy prevails if we do not address the underlying issue of consumer demand. Men Ending Trafficking would like to acknowledge our co-sponsor, Henna Stolz from Empower Men, along with the other individuals and organizations that contributed to the recognition and discussion of PASEPA this week on Parliament Hill. We were also able to deliver this important new book to every MP and senator. Special thanks to co-authors Kathy King and Andrea Hines. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Abel, and I'm the Vice President of Children and Youth and Global Affairs for the National Council of Women of Canada. On behalf of the Council and our President, we wish to make the following statement affirming our strong and unwavering support for PASEPA, the Protection of Communities and Exploited Persons Act. Today marks the 11th anniversary of this important legislation coming into law. We wish to acknowledge and applaud the tireless efforts of the many advocates and government officials who brought this vital legislation to life and who continue every day to uphold its purpose and impact. Their dedication has enabled Canada to take meaningful steps towards protecting individuals and communities from exploitation. For many years, prostitution legislation has been the subject of debate and division. Yet, despite differing perspectives, one truth remains very clear. The safety and well-being of individuals, especially those who are most vulnerable, must always come first. That is why our presence here today is so important. We stand together as a firm reminder to government decision makers that the Protection of Communities and Exploited Persons Act must not only be maintained, it must be fully implemented and upheld. PASEPA is grounded in trauma-informed research, evidence-based data, and the lived experiences of those working on the front lines. It is a law designed to protect people who sell sexual services and to safeguard communities, including children, from the serious harms associated with prostitution. By targeting and disrupting demand, PASEPA addresses the root causes that fuel exploitation. It aligns penalties for trafficking and prostitution-related offenses, ensuring a consistent and coordinated legal response to practices that are deeply intertwined. This approach not only upholds human rights, but also reinforces Canada's commitment to combating exploitation in all of its forms. Today, as we commemorate this legislation, we also look forward. We reaffirm our collective responsibility to ensure that PASEPA continues to protect the most vulnerable and to strengthen the safety and well-being of communities across our country. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Liz John West, and I'm the Executive Director of CEASE, Center to Empower All Survivors of Exploitation and Trafficking in Edmonton. For more than 30 years, CEASE has stood on the front lines supporting those exploited in the sex industry, helping survivors rebuild their lives, and confronting the demand that fuels exploitation. We are here today because 11 years after the Protection of Communities and Exploited Persons Act became law, the reality is men are still buying sex and women and children are still being harmed.
That's horrible. So it seems like no matter what anybody does, it still continues, right? So I guess the problem lies with the design, right? The penalties aren't harsh enough for men who buy sex. Does anybody know what the penalties are for a man who buys sex? Let's look it up. Oh. What are the penalties in Winnipeg if you're caught buying sex? In Winnipeg, as in the rest of Canada, purchasing or communicating for the purpose of purchasing sexual services is a criminal offense under the Criminal Code of Canada. Penalties can range from, so they range. So there's no mandatory penalties can range from mandatory minimum fines to imprisonment, depending on how the Crown chooses to prosecute the offense and the specifics of the case. So, within the law, they've allowed loopholes for rich people to be let off. Within the law, they've put in loopholes for the Crown to let off rich people. The Crown chooses to prosecute the offense and the specifics of the case. So depending on how the Crown chooses to prosecute the offense, right? There isn't an actual, and this is the problem. They call it the Crown as well, which is disgusting and despicable. If you knew what I knew, and you understood the way it is, you would understand how evil that term is. Penalties for buying sexual services as an adult. The offense of obtaining or communicating for the purpose of obtaining sexual services from an adult is a hybrid offense, meaning it can be prosecuted as either a summary conviction or an indictable offense. So right there, it should just strictly be an indictable offense, right? The maximum penalty is imprisonment for up to 18 months and or a fine of up to $5,000, right? That's not enough. It should be a $50,000 fine and 18 years in jail. I'll tell you right now, unless you're fucking stupid, you're going to go out and pay for sex. Mandatory. I watched Tinder just heat up after they increased the penalties. You know what I mean? Every goof in the world will be like, instead of going for like a social media or, get a photographer to take a picture of you for your TikTok and your IG post, you goofs, what you'll end up doing is you'll end up getting a social media master to come and build you a website so you can log in, so you don't have to log in. They'll find chicks for you, right? That's what should be going on. Mandatory minimum fines. First offense, $500 fine. It's like, fuck off. $500 if you get, so basically, like, I can't even. Subsequent offenses, general, I don't know, $1,000 fine. If committed in a public place next to a park, school, or religious institution, $1,000 fine for first offense, $2,000 for a subsequent offense. Wow. It doesn't even go up to $5,000. And this is like on the third time the guy's bought sex, he's still not paying $5,000. It says maximum of up to $5,000. I still haven't seen a $5,000 fine introduced. Indictable offense, maximum penalty imprisonment for up to 5 years. Matt, I've never heard of that before. There is not one rich person I've ever heard of that went to jail for 5 years for buying a hooker. Mandatory minimums, first offense, general fine, $1,000. Subsequent offenses, $2,000 fine. If committed in a public place, next to a park, school, or religious institution, the fine first time is $2,000, and the second time, subsequent offense, is $4,000. Penalties for buying sexual services from a minor under 18. Purchasing sexual services from a person under 18 is a straight indictable offense with severe penalties. Maximum penalty for up to 10 years. Mandatory, I don't think anybody has been. I have to look up, find out how many people in Manitoba have been charged, went to prison for 10 years for buying a prostitute. Underage, of course, but I mean, let's find out. Mandatory minimum imprisonment, first offense is 6 months imprisonment. So who's collecting the money for these underage prostitutes? And how is there no tax people going after these mobsters? And how is it that like a Sikh priest can have his whole life, bank account and everything looked at, but we don't look at mobsters' bank accounts who are making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year driving around fucking brand new Land Rovers, and they don't even throw a fucking nail into a board. This is all by design, you guys. They turn a blind eye to the majority of people who are corrupt in their inner circle, who deals with the problems that exist when proper people speak out. Mobsters come in, get their kids to come and bully you, entice you, entrap you, whatever it is. They threaten you, all these things. You guys have no idea. But yeah, this is by design, guys. Did Peter Nygaard have a permanent criminal record? Yes, Peter Nygaard has a permanent criminal record following his conviction in September 2024. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison. Did Peter Nygaard have a criminal record before 2024? Yes, Peter Nygaard had a prior criminal conviction for contempt of court in the Bahamas in 2019, for which he was fined and sentenced to 90 days in prison. Regarding other criminal matters, Nygaard had faced charges earlier in his life that did not result in convictions before 24. In 1968, he was charged with a sexual offense in Winnipeg, but charges were dropped after alleged victim declined to testify. In 1980, he was charged with sexual assault of an 18-year-old woman, but the charges were stayed because the victim declined to testify. So the police knew about both of these. I want to go slowly over both of these. I want to talk to you about this. In 1968, he was charged by the police in Winnipeg with a sexual offense in Winnipeg, but the charges were dropped after the alleged victim declined to testify. So the police knew exactly where she lived, right? Maybe Nygaard did too, but that's not the point. Why did the police not pursue her to testify against him and provide her support in her time of most gracious need against a multi-millionaire who is corrupt, slithering, and evil? Gee, I wonder why. In 1980, he was charged with sexual assault on an 18-year-old woman, but the charges were stayed because the victim declined to testify. So 12 years later, this scumbag assaulted another woman. 12 years between the two assaults. You do know that a person this evil, when a person is this evil in psychology, it's a known fact that they are referred to as what is referred to as a repeat offender. So some people have it in them to be an asshole. Some people have it in them to be a predator. This is a predator right here. And the police, on many occasions in Winnipeg, failed to protect the citizens of Winnipeg by allowing this predator, this multi-millionaire with very high-reaching friends in Winnipeg societies here, which is disgusting and despicable, was allowed by design by the design of the structures in place within our judicial, our policing system, and just the simple way these old men slither through and get away with absolute murder. Nygaard's whole family should be so embarrassed for themselves. They should be condemning Nygaard, Peter Nygaard, till the day they die. I float. Guys, I am floating on my wife's love right now. And my wife is older than me, by the way. No, that's a good thing, okay? I'm stating a true fact. I have always dated older than me, and I've always enjoyed that. I can't even fathom. It screams disgusting. So the morals of men who do these things are without morals, okay?
Many men still believe that purchasing sex is legal. And this false belief fuels ongoing violence and exploitation. Every purchase reinforces a system built on inequality, trauma.
A system designed to profit off of you women who are, just in a bad place, right? You're young as well. Most 90% of the time you're just young, right? So think about it, that the system is designed to groom you and prey on you when the time comes.
And the commodification of human beings. At CEAS, we see the consequences of this every single day. In the past 6 months, we have received approximately 150 inquiries from individuals seeking to exit the sex industry. Many of them have endured unimaginable violence that leave lifelong scars. A significant number struggle with poverty, mental health issues, and the trauma of being exploited as children. These are not isolated stories. They are the reality of exploitation in Canada today. We must do better to protect our most vulnerable. We have the law.
We must do something, because right now the people who want to hurt your kids have created laws to allow them to do so, okay? First, I don't know, they're gonna be able to check out all your kids take photos of themselves, and maybe somebody else takes a photo of your kid underage, and then do you want your kids' photos on some fucking old man's walls, blown, like they blow up a photo of it, print it out and put it on their wall? And this government in Canada right now says it's going to be okay if you do that.
Now we must implement them. Our community in Edmonton learned long ago that change requires both compassion and accountability. Over 3 decades ago, CEAS helped create STOP, the sex trade offender program, to directly address men's demand for paid sex. The program's goal is to educate men, build empathy, and inspire real behavioral change. Through collaboration and law enforcement, prosecutors, probation, health services, and survivors, men who are arrested for buying sex learn the truth about exploitation, about the law, and about the harm they cause. Our data tells a powerful story. Out of 298 men we surveyed during STOP, 78% of the men did not know buying sex was illegal in Canada.
Yeah, right.
58% of the men said being arrested was a major deterrent. Not 68% of the men said also that they will stop buying sex after attending this program. These findings show that education and enforcement together can change behavior. Men can and do learn, but only when the law is upheld and society sends a clear message that exploitation is unacceptable.
So, a clear message, when society sends a clear message that we're all on the same page, that your children, if they're taken a picture of, or if the picture slips into the wrong hands, that your child is going to be protected, because the police can just go online, take the photo down, you know what I mean? Scrub it from the internet. You're telling me David Icke and Alex Jones can be scrubbed entirely? Their voices aren't allowed and permitted on social media platforms. But they can't get rid of 10-year-old children who are naked. It seems a lot easier when you don't even have to. It's just clearly a body type that hasn't reached puberty and adolescence yet. We're at a point now where AI knows how many times a day we peed. But we can't get the AI to stop showing child pornography on the internet? No. It can. They choose not to. And also, I should really recommend, if you are voting, consider who you're voting for next time, because the Liberals passed a law. Let me read to you what Bill C-50 is, and if you voted Liberal, oh my God, people are not going to like you. Bill C-50, tell me what the law is. Read it to me, please. Maybe I got the wrong damn law here. Yeah, I think I do. It's not. Maybe it's this one. For God's sakes, I think I have the wrong law. Hang on. I can't even hardly spell pornography. Pornography law in Canada for pedos. Oh, so it says, except the 1993 amendment, a child pornography, the criminal code does not use the word pornography, but rather obscenity. An entire minimum under the criminal. Tougher penalties is section. Child pornography laws in Canada, September 18th, 2025. Child pornography is a serious criminal offense in Canada. Strict laws. Oh, geez. We got to go back here. Did the Liberals pass a law on pornography and what is it called? Pedophilia? Open season for... Oh, Jesus. Conservative slam Liberals. Let's see.
Quick question.
During question period on Tuesday. Oh, so the Supreme Court of Canada okay, let me read this to you. Supreme Court's ruling that struck down mandatory sentences for possession of child sexual abuse. The Supreme Court ruled that struck down mandatory sentences for possession of child sexual abuse and exploitation materials. If the minister has ruled out using the notwithstanding clause, what's his plan to take sex offenders? Here, we're just going to hear it from his words.
Career prosecuting internet offenses against children. This included possession. Mr. Speaker, I spent much of my legal career prosecuting internet offenses against children.
Cool.
This included possession of child sexual abuse material. Let's be clear, victims often serve a psychological life sentence. Last week, the Supreme Court of Canada struck...
This dude needs to come to YouTube and check out some of the predators on YouTube here. Holy crap, man. There's some people on here, dude. There's actually one dude who actually made a video that's actually good. And the guy he's just as scuzzy as this guy, but he's trying to throw shade to take the shade off of him type of deal. Well, this other dude is super scuzzy. He's done probably worse than this guy. But both of these dudes need to be taken off of YouTube because they're disgusting. You know what I mean? And I'll see if Mr. Caputo can take a look at that and see if he can get other dude off of YouTube as well. Because they are so gross, man. Well, let's let this gentleman have the floor here, and let's hear him out as he explains what the Supreme Court of Canada just recently did. And Carney hasn't said a word about this. It's been days. He should absolutely be overturning this and use the notwithstanding clause to reverse this right now.
Canada struck down...
It looks like we introduced that is why we introduced C-14 that make bail stricter, that makes sentences tougher, and that makes sure child... Oh, so they want to increase penalties for toughen up all the penalties? I only want them to toughen up the penalties on pedos.
The mandatory 1 year in jail for possession of child sexual abuse and exploitation material. The minister said today that he won't use the notwithstanding clause on this ruling. So the question is this: why are the rights of victims second and the rights of sex offenders first?
And that's a serious statement. You can't tell me that the sex offender isn't getting away with murder here. The sex offender is getting away with looking at your kids naked.
Mr. Speaker, through actions, we are standing up for victims of crime. Plain and simple. Mr. Speaker, child abusers should face the toughest penalties under Canadian law. That's why we introduced C-4.
These are obviously important issues, and therefore we deserve important debate. So that
like, who would cut off a girl, like a woman speaking about that? But a liberal. You know what I mean? Liberal scum.
the Secretary of State, from the top.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The rights of victims are very important to this government. That is why we have been taking action. And let me make it very plain and simple to the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. Child abusers should face the toughest penalties under Canadian law. That is why we introduced C-14. We're making reforms, sweeping reforms, Mr. Speaker, that make bail stricter, that make sentences tougher, and that make sure that child abusers stay behind bars. Mr. Speaker, we also introduced lawful access so that we can catch child predators and we can give law enforcement the tools that are needed, Mr. Speaker, but the Conservatives are against it.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops Thompson Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, Bill C-14 has nothing to do with mandatory minimums for those who possess and produce child sexual abuse and exploitation material. I have looked far too many victims in the eye.
And by the way, that's true. I'll read to you what it says C14 is for. This is what it says here. That is why we introduced C14 that make bail stricter. That has nothing to do with enforcing charges and amounts of days spent in jail. That's bail stricter. That makes sentences tougher. Okay, but you don't go out on a limb and say specifically that you want to increase the penalties for child pornography. You have to do that. Otherwise, the law has so many fucking loopholes already for these rich scum to get off of. It's like, but it doesn't exactly say that I couldn't have my finger in that young person's bum. Like, it's disgusting where we are in this world when you have to write down every little thing, and we can't just use our grace and our goodness to be like, yeah, you know what? This shouldn't be allowed.
Abuse and exploitation material. I have looked far too many victims in the eye to feel comfortable giving the answer that the minister just gave, Mr. Speaker. Victims don't want excuses, they want action. We often hear about charter rights for the accused, including pedophiles, but we don't hear about rights for the victims. If the minister has ruled out using the notwithstanding clause, what's his plan to take sex offenders off our streets?
Let's hear his plan for sex offenders. Let's hear. This is a liberal that's about to start talking here. I'll tell you what their name is.
Mr. Speaker, we've been taking action on this issue.
Her name is Ruby Sahota. And she's Secretary of State, and in brackets it says combating crime. I don't know if you guys in Canada are happy with Ruby Sahota, the Liberal, who is Secretary of State, and she's combating crime in Canada right now. But I bet you she sits up in an ivory tower somewhere and doesn't even leave her house. She probably gets door dashed every night. You know what I mean?
We've been taking action on this issue since day one. We introduced legislation called C-63 that made sexual offenses online, but the Conservatives did not support it, Mr. Speaker. We brought lawful access provisions so that child pedophiles can be caught, Mr. Speaker, but the Conservatives did not support it.
So I'm interested in hearing this answer. So the Secretary of State... Secretary of State may continue.
Mr. Speaker, child abusers are amongst the most reprehensible in our society. That is why we've taken many measures like C-63, like C-14, and like lawful access provisions so that they can be caught in the first place, Mr. Speaker. We're also going to be...
So, I'm telling you right now, those laws haven't caught anybody, and they also don't keep them in jail. Those laws aren't making sure they don't reoffend. Those laws don't do anything, in fact. They're slaps on the wrist. These people need serious punishments for their serious actions in Canada. We're here to protect children. We're here to protect elderly people. And if you're not, then you're the devil. Anything else in between, I don't want to hear excuses, okay?
That's why CEAS is calling on Parliament to make decisive action, fully enforce PSEPA, hold accountable the men who create the demand, invest in exit programs, safe housing,
Why did she stop talking?
The knowledge exists. Quality, we cannot look away.